Hey guys, my name is Brandon and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you like what you see in here, you're more than welcome to hit the subscribe button so you stay notified every time I upload a new video. Okay, let's get straight on with today's video. Hey everyone and welcome back to Is That More Brandon. So in today's review, I'm going to be doing a review for the 12th episode of The Apprentice 2024, episode 12, final episode, and we actually find out who becomes Lord Sugar's business partner. So without further ado, we're going to get straight on with the episode and I'll reveal to you who wins. So at the beginning of the episode, we found out that obviously Phil and Rachel were going to be going head to head in the Apprentice final. Rachel has her gym business that she obviously wants to expand, and Phil has his pie business, the family business that he obviously wants to expand as well. They both received the call that they were going to be going to the Royal Naval Hall in Greenwich, with Phil asking Rachel if she was excited, and she said it would obviously be a dream come true if she was to win, with Phil explaining that his whole life would actually be turned upside down if he was to win the show. Lord Sugar said to the both of them that the shipping industry is quite large, and London is obviously the biggest port in the world, and basically what they had to do for their final task was to launch their business with a new brand, a billboard, and then obviously pitch to industry experts as well. And then obviously Lord Sugar basically explained that the candidates would not be on their own, so they basically had 10 of their ex-candidates come back, and one by one they basically had to choose who they wanted in their team. So Rachel chose Sam, Flo, Trey, Maura and Steve, and Phil chose Paul, Verdi, Faluso, Raj and obviously Paul B as well. So I know some of the ones that didn't come back, for example Onyeka, Noor, Jack, I guess they were some of the other contestants that I thought, you know, they could have potentially been picked. But no, they were not chosen to come back. But anyway, yeah, I tried to almost remember all 18 of the candidates. But yeah, they were the 10 that came back. And Lord Sugar basically explained that the gyms obviously had to stand out, and that for the pie business, he needed to kind of turn his businesses into a bigger brand. That was kind of the competition here. So Phil basically said to his team for actually them to try some of his pies, and he's actually a third generation pie maker. He's already developed his business. Paul the dentist said that he had really, really nice pies, and Phil basically explained that he needed to scale his business and kind of focus on more of the online, retailing online as well. Faluso also explained that his pies were quite easy to cut into, or quite easy to eat into, so that was obviously good information there for Phil. For Rachel's team, she basically said to her team she's already got 2 successful fitness studios in both Leeds and Harrogate, and she wanted to open a new one in Newcastle. She wanted to explain that kind of her USP was that her gyms are different because they are kind of like social hangouts where you can do fitness. They're fun, there's music, there's lights, supportive environment. And she explained that in terms of her target market, her niche, 70% of her clients are female, 30% are men, but she is open to having more male clients and she wants to actually have more men coming into her business. For Phil's team, he put Verdi as sub-team leader for the billboard team, along with Paul B and Raj. And Verdi basically said that he wanted to obviously, his idea to Phil was that he wanted to tell a story with a video loop, kind of, you know, having people make purchases again and again. Raj also jumped in saying that she had an idea, but I guess she kind of was shut down a little bit by Verdi here. And Verdi basically said, look, let's go with my idea, there's a lot on the line right now. And Phil basically said, look, the most important thing is that I know you're competent at what you're all going to be doing, so just make sure you get the image of the pies across. With Raj saying, look, you know, I'm not going to actually be on the branding team, but just as an idea, maybe you could have a brand name such as Phil My Pie, which she didn't realise was naughty. The rest of them didn't really emote to it, they kind of just listened and kind of moved past it, but Lord Sugar did pick that up later on, which I will obviously explain. Back to Rachel's team, so she decided to put Trey, Sam and Steve, with Sam as the sub-team leader because obviously she also has a fitness business, and Steve basically said, what do you want it to be in terms of feelings? Do you want it to be humorous, or do you want to obviously focus on the energy side? And then Rachel basically said, it's a premium brand, not just a cheap and cheesy brand, it needs to stand out, with Flo saying, let's go and get that win. For Phil's team, Paul B said that, you know, Phil needs to kind of stay down south because obviously if he starts coming up north, that's where Paul B's business is in terms of his pies. So that was just a nice little joke there. And then for Rachel's team, Flo and Maura were coming up with different brand name ideas, with Maura coming up with the name Sweaty Studio, which I don't think sounded correct. Rachel said no. She said her business or her company is all about building, kind of like building muscle, building engagement, building, you know, a reputable brand, you know, connecting with other people. So potentially having the word building as part of her brand name. Maura said something like studio build. And then I think Flo jumped in here and said the word build could obviously make it come across as if it's some sort of like construction industry or some sort of, you know, engineering kind of business as opposed to a gym. Obviously when you explain it later and you show everything later on in terms of the graphics, it's more simple. But in terms of the brand name, Studio Build sounds like you are a building company or a building industry of some sort as opposed to a gym. Back on Phil's team, he obviously said to his team he wanted to have a brand name such as Prestige Pies. So he was with Paul the Dentist and Faluso on the branding team, and also came up with his idea of having a photo of the pie within the actual logo. Faluso suggested they should swing the hands up, so kind of have the hands as if they were like catching the pie. And Phil explained that he felt like he needed to add some sort of golden colour on the top, kind of like a royal purple would obviously work as quite like a prestige colour. And then Karen said to the camera that Phil's business, having 90 years of history, there was no class or tradition to the logo and branding that they created, and it almost looked quite cartoonish. So that's not very good feedback to hear as of, you know, the branding. But, you know, I guess maybe, yes, it did look a bit cartoonish, but maybe that's kind of, he wanted to, you know, play on the fact that it's like a family business that kind of stems from a younger generation, and then they obviously grow up and develop later on. For Rachel's team, Flo suggested they added a sweat drop in the letter O, so it's kind of like a little tear. But again, it could either be could either have been seen as water or a teardrop or sweat. Again, with the word build, it kind of could be either of those two businesses. And then Maura said they, in terms of the colour chart, they could have like a rich kind of looking brown. Flo said blue is obviously quite a safe colour to go with, and I think Rachel actually suggested that, and she was kind of like, well, maybe you want to try something different. So I think they were kind of choosing between like reds, oranges, yellows, greens. Obviously Maura had her idea of brown, and then they ended up going with kind of like a rich pastel sort of colour, with Maura saying that, you know, the logo and the branding is actually quite square, it's quite just basic. And Rachel said, yeah, it's obviously quite basic and simple, but it does add that sort of uniqueness. So yeah, again, I guess both of the brandings on both of the teams were not good, and you had two completely different ideas that both took a completely different path. For Rachel's team, Trey, Sam and Steve were obviously off to create the video, and I think Trey was the director here. He kind of wanted to have a lot of sharp clips showing four prominent things as part of the gym, so 4 different classes or 4 different workouts or something like that. Steve said it would be good to have kind of like words like be strong, be powerful, be social, things like that to kind of, you know, quickly identify that it is a gym, not a building company, kind of being like bam. And then Trey explained it needed to be straightforward in order to execute what Rachel was looking for. And then for Phil's team, again, Verdi was taking the lead here as director, and he basically said, as an example, the chef could be bringing over the pies for the mum, who was obviously played by Raj, and to obviously look quite amazed and look quite surprised with this. But the only issue that they kind of had here is both Verdi and Raj were trying to both come up with ideas at the same time, and I got to a point where Raj was actually sniffing or reacting to the smell of the pies before she even opened the box. So Verdi was like, look, we need to just get on with it. And then I think some of her pies went a bit crumbly, and she said, look, can I have some new pies? And he said, look, we're running out of time. We don't have time to give you new pies. Just use what you've got. Hence, that's what acting is all about. So I guess it was stressful for both of them because they are trying to do what's best for Phil. But also, yeah, they are there with conflicting ideas, so it's a bit difficult when everyone's coming up with good suggestions. Yeah, he basically said to her, don't smell it with your eyes, and also to walk out of shot with her back facing the camera. She kind of said, well, hang on, you don't want me to walk out with my back facing the camera because then that's not a very good look for the video. And then, yeah, he basically just said to her, let me direct, you just focus on the acting. So a little bit cold, but I guess, yeah, when they've got a task to do, one person's in charge, one person listens, one person is kind of overseeing, and then you just kind of actually get it done. Back to Rachel's team, so for Trey, again, he was the director, he got Sam on the screen, so she was doing the 4 different exercises, obviously what would be on the billboard. He also managed to get Steve involved as well, and I think Steve was kind of smiling while he was boxing, and Trey kind of questioned, saying, Steve, would you be smiling that much when you're working out? He said it was a little bit cheesy, and then Sam was like, but hang on, we're happy, so we want to be happy when we exercise, so it's a good thing to smile to show people you're actually enjoying exercising. And then Tim, again, from the sidelines, basically said he's not sure if this team knew the difference between premium and fun. Rachel obviously has a premium brand, and they're obviously creating like a fun billboard. So it's very different, but let's see if it actually works well later on. Rachel explained to her sub-team that she obviously was obviously going to go for a premium boutique, and she obviously wanted to create a metaverse studio, kind of identifying every single room and every single aspect of the studio. So she was obviously with Flo and Maura, and she kind of really didn't let them say anything here. I think it was kind of just Rachel was just running with her idea. She basically, for example, had like text, so the word reformer, which I think is a type of gym exercise, so that was blue text, quite funky. And then she was kind of just designating, you know, this room is for this and this room is for that, and we need this many bikes in this room, reception desk, flowers, staff, whatever. And then the other girls were kind of just looking on. And Flo said that looked really, really cool. And Rachel said it's nice to finally get it into reality, with Maura also adding that it was really, really cool. And I think here she basically just said she's had this vision since the beginning of the process of what she wanted that third building to look like. So the fact that she's actually now able to do this was a great way for her to showcase exactly how she wanted the gym to look. Phil also explained to his team that he was ready to expand online. And then obviously with his little sub-team, I think Paul B and Feluso, he said he wanted to create some sort of gift box wrapping and obviously have some symbols as well. So Feluso here was kind of, I wouldn't say negative, but she was kind of being constructively critiquey of what Phil was obviously wanting to do. So she basically said, look, the one concern here is that the pie doesn't look exactly like the branding of the box. So obviously the pie was quite cartoony, but the actual pie on the box was not really the same. And she asked whether it would look a bit weird, or whether he maybe wanted to add a different colour, like for example a purple rather than a blue. And he basically said the most important thing is just adding the brand and the logo, and you can always fill that sort of thing out later on. Felusa said to the camera that there seemed to be a lot of tunnel vision in terms of what Phil wanted to do, and she also said that she had lots of ideas, but obviously because it's not her project and he's the one that's going to be doing the pitch, he needs to know exactly what he's creating, rather than, there's no point her creating the brand and then him promoting what he didn't even create. So yeah, people can put in the ideas, and then it was up to him to actually know exactly what he was doing for that pitch. And for Verdi, he said again, so he was working with Raj, and I don't know who the other one was. It was Raj, I think it was just Raj actually. I think it was Raj and Paul. Yeah, so Raj and Paul, I think he was working with here. And he basically said that in terms of the writing for the advert, they should have things like award-winning, handcrafted from our family to yours. And Raj basically explained that there was too many words on that, it needed to be a lot shorter. And then Verdi was kind of like, you know, I appreciate your ideas kind of here, but we need to actually move on to the background. So he was kind of very structured in terms of he knew exactly what he wanted to focus on. He had an idea, he did it, he moved on. He kind of appreciated that there may have been a few too many words, but it's better to get in clarity exactly what you want him to write, rather than having 3 words that you then have to explain later on. You may as well just have that full sentence. She also jumped in, Raj saying that it needed to look clean, and she basically said that having an orange background would obviously clash with the pie, which is a slightly orangey golden colour. So I don't think she was happy with the branding, but I guess Verdi, he took the lead, he was the director, so it was him making majority of those decisions. With the girls team, so back to Rachel's team, Sam explained they needed to have a premium value for the video, with Trey saying that he wanted to actually see the logo from the other team, so obviously what Maura, Flo and Rachel had created. So Steve was a little bit confused with the word build. It kind of says bodybuilder. Sam said, again, it also kind of added a bit like building or builders. And then Steve said, again, he wasn't really sure what that little tear thing was, whether it was sweat, with Sam saying it could actually just be water. Trey basically said having the blue on the logo didn't exactly work. He wasn't exactly blown away with the branding. And Steve basically said that they should add the logo at the end of the video to kind of, you know, hint what it is you're actually advertising, but have all the kind of content that they've been creating already towards the beginning, to just have it as a complimentary thing at the end, rather than put the logo first. People go, is that a building company? And then they see gym stuff, see all the gym stuff with the logo following. And then Sam said Rachel's going to love it. And then Rachel said, let's all go and get some sleep for the big day tomorrow. So in the morning, Phil and his team, he said he was excited to see the billboard. And he explained to the sub-team it was very, very simple in terms of the design element. Verdi said there was lots of different messages for him to obviously include. So he thought it'd be better to just add less of them, or to obviously just add the most important things, with Phil saying he needed to actually add, I guess, photos of the pie, of the actual item itself, which I guess wasn't included. With Rachel's team, she said that she absolutely loved the billboard and questioned whether the girls actually wanted to come and work for her. Flo said the only thing that she would question about the video is that Sam's outfit is quite colourful, quite unique, not really sure if that's given off premium. And Sam said that she stands out from the background with what she wears, and actually it's not a bad thing because women do want to wear colour when they go to the gym. They don't want to just wear, you know, the black or the blue or the red. They would want to wear something funky, something that's colourful, something they can feel comfortable in. So actually that would draw attraction to the video rather than to detract that attention. For Phil's team, he said he would obviously be wanting to do the presenting, and he was doing kind of like his practice pitch to Verdi and to Paul the dentist, and yeah, he basically obviously showed his team the packaging that he created. Verdi straight away said it doesn't really shout the word prestige, and the logo is a little bit comical, a little bit cartoony, and Phil said it looks as if he's aiming towards a younger demographic. So I guess, yeah, maybe he is happy with the logo, but at the same time that older target audience would obviously have been lost if it looks a bit childish. And then Rachel showed the other half of her team, the virtual tour of the gym that she created in the metaverse. And then Rachel, again, also answered the question whether they thought it was a raindrop or a sweat drop. And Steve, for example, questioned the word build, that it kind of sounds like a building company, with Sam saying that Rachel needs to be prepared for any questions that she might be asked. And then Trey also said to Rachel that the word community, she needs to be emotive on that word, because obviously community is one of the most important things that she's advertising here, so she needs to make sure that she is emoting and being emotive with those words. Again, Phil was doing his practice speech with Verdi and Paul the dentist. He basically just started saying, "Hello, I specialise in quality handmade pies." He's going to take people through the history of his journey so far, and then he basically said, "I've run out of words," with Paul basically saying he needs to take a lot more pauses, and he was speaking quite fast, and then Verdi also said the same thing, that he just needs to slow down a bit, think about what he needs to say, and then actually then go on and say it. And then for Rachel's team, Steve was questioning to Rachel whether people would actually like the video, whether they'd actually like the product. So he was going off to do market research with some of the girls, and they basically said, so some of them said they were let down by the logo, they weren't sure what the company was for. Someone even saw it as a water droplet, so advertising like a plumbing company. Someone said it kind of seemed a bit like a fitness company, but for boxing rather than just generally a gym. And yeah, Sam also added that, you know, you shouldn't have to explain a logo should be quite clear, so Rachel's obviously going to have those questions to answer for. And then for Phil's team, again, some of his team went out to get a first impression on the video. Someone said they're not sure if pies are actually delivered. The kind of logo was kind of retro, cartoony, and the pies by post was a good idea, but in terms of the brand name, it was quite forgettable. And then finally, they had to go and do their pitches at One Marylebone, with Rachel explaining that she can't believe that she's here, Phil saying he's a little bit overwhelmed. And then finally, both Phil and Rachel getting their last minute feedback from the customer reviews from the public. So Felusa basically said to Phil that the logo, she was told, was a little bit too cartoony. Paul B, the other pie guy, said it's not terrible. Felusa said they didn't really understand about whether the pies were actually being posted or not. And then Paul B questioned what is the actual message behind the item. That's kind of what you need to know. And then Rachel was told by Sam that, again, the word build almost seemed like they were like a merchant or a plumber's company. They were unsure of the logo and unsure of the actual branding until they watched the video, and she'll also probably need to explain the sweat drop as opposed to just a droplet of water. Rachel, again, she had to go in and advertise her high-end fitness. Phil had to explain the quality of his handmade pies, and it was over to Phil first to do his pitch. So, at the beginning of his pitch, he was telling his story about how his mum thought he wasn't going to go anywhere in life, he wasn't going to achieve anything, and they, as a family, have created 5 pie shops in the UK. He basically fell in love with the company. His idea of selling pies in the post was actually an idea from 2018, where they have custom pie packs, and also he's been told that there's a huge potential for growth within his company. He also explained some of the financial parts of his business, and that he's made over 2.7 million with I think as of last year or 2 years ago, 20% of his business were pies sent by post. So it's not a lot, it's almost a quarter, but that's why he wanted to kind of expand in that direction. And then he was asked a couple of questions by, for example, Tom Moyles, who works at Gales. I think he might be the CEO. And he said, you want to be putting money into the food, but you're putting money into the delivery. So you're kind of spending more on delivery than just focusing on making money from the pies. How would that work? And he basically said people would understand that, you know, as businesses grow, develop, things like that, it is just something that people will get used to in terms of paying for package, paying for delivery costs. So he thinks it's going to be quite successful, and he thinks it's going to be quite good. He was also asked whether he was going to be able to stand out from the crowd. Obviously, it's quite a tough market. And he said having investment, having the amount of time that he needs, and obviously having money, he should be able to get these pies into people's homes. And again, Lord Sugar had a quick chat with some of his business partners, saying that there are other businesses that have kind of prospered during the pandemic, so wondering why his has had a loss for the last couple of years. And then Lord Sugar basically also said that his obviously online pies situation has started, and I think one of the people that he was talking to said that their business went from 3 million sales down to 1 million, and then when they went online it boosted straight back up. So it does work. You just kind of, you know, you just have to be lucky, and you just have to advertise it the right way. And you know, he was also told by one of the other business people that Phil has a successful business, and he needs to just, you know, keep bringing money in by opening more and more shops. And then up next was Rachel. So again, she did her speech. She basically explained that when she was 23, she set up her first boutique, running business classes and premium classes. She wants to open a site every single year, as of now, focus on Newcastle, which would be about £100,000 and obviously cheaper to rent. She explained her billboard to create something unique for the brand. And then she also explained again a bit about her life and her journey into the fitness, and she also gave a tutorial of the metaverse that she created of the gym. And yeah, she said that she wanted to kind of keep the community, the small community feel, so there aren't actually that many members or that many machines of the gym, because it's kind of more of a space to like socialise with other people and then be able to work out as well. Somebody called George in the audience asked whether she can deliver in classes by having a team, and also because she, I guess this is what Lord Sugar brought up a couple of weeks ago, because she can't necessarily be a manager in all the different gyms at the same time, how is she going to make sure that they're all doing exactly what she wants and exactly what they need to be doing? And she said she's going to make sure she gets the staff training for consistency, so that's going to be one of the first things that she focuses on, which is why some of the budget will go straight into the training and the staff. Olivia, so she's the owner of Rumble Gym, said that coaches are integral to a business like this. How is Rachel going to make sure that these clients don't leave with their instructors and that they all just stay and work at her gym? Because you've got to think about it. Example, come to the gym, I want a trainer who is hired by Rachel, they'll train me, and then I'll go, actually, I want to go somewhere else, the trainer will then train me in a different gym. So how is Rachel going to make sure that those two, or that person who has their clients, work for her in her gym, as opposed to then trying to start their own gym or doing it self-employed or whatever? How are they going to stay with her? And she basically said she's going to keep empowering her staff and her instructors to stay with her. She's had a lot of people that were actually with her since the beginning of her time in business, and they stuck with her as of to now. So she doesn't think they're going to leave, and she thinks there's enough, you know, things in place for them to stick with her. And then Sandy, who was, I guess, in charge of Barry's in the UK, said that that's obviously a neighbourhood gym, and how is she going to fare alongside that? She said it's obviously a saturated market, and for example, she's not just going to let people come in and out. She'll actually get to know them on a more of a personal level. So some of the examples were their favourite drinks, or what they do on the weekend, or things like that, to kind of make it a little bit more inclusive, so you actually get to know all of your customers rather than just know them by name or know them by face. You actually get to know them as people as well. Sam straight away went up to Rachel saying, you did amazing. And again, Lord Sugar had a couple of his fitness business people having a little chat with. He basically said, with the USP, how does she replicate these gyms when she's expanding to other locations? Somebody said there is opportunity in the north of England. She seems to kind of be a jack of all trades. And she needs to just kind of choose one aspect or one avenue to go down and focus on it. I think somebody also said you can't really go wrong with Rachel, just the way that she's been and the way that she is as a businesswoman. You can't go wrong with her. Rachel said it would mean the world to her if she was to win, and Phil said he hopes that he has done enough in order to win Lord Sugar's investment. So we're on the final page, so we basically, in 1 page time, we'll find out who Lord Sugar chose as his business partner. And he welcomed all 12 of them back, so the 2, Rachel and Phil, and the 10 that were on each of their teams. And he said that I hope all of you ex-candidates have had a good time throughout the process, and also obviously been able to come back and help with the final task. Phil straight away said he was obviously focusing on the online world for his pies, as there was room for growth and obviously mentorship for business. Verdi jumped in, said that he understood that this was obviously like a family side of his business, and he wanted to make sure that the pie industry was something that, you know, he was able to still show off with directing the short video, and also ensuring that the pie delivery option was something that people understood. Paul B, as the other pie man, said that, you know, the pies were really, really good. And Verdi jumped in and said that Raj was the mother in the video, obviously because she's an older person, and then he basically just brought his words back and said she was the lady of the house, or the lady of the video. And Lord Sugar noticed that both Raj and Verdi were having a little bit of bickering, and he said, yeah, you two were bickering, almost like, I can't remember what he referred it to, talking about Buzzle Brush and something, not 100% sure, but he basically compared the 2 of them as to like 2 people that were just messing around. And Lord Sugar also said that you couldn't actually see the pie in the video, with Phil saying that he actually did ask them to put the pie in the video, to put it front and centre, because that's what you're advertising. You're not advertising somebody eating the pie, you're actually advertising the pie itself. Karen said that all 3 of them worked really, really hard for him, so it was good for him to kind of have that feedback from Karen, to know that they actually did put a lot of effort in. And Phil said that hopefully Paul B would have an idea in terms of, you know, what else they could do, because they're both in the same industry, so he obviously chose Paul to see if he could bring any of his pie tactics along. Karen also added that they didn't use Raj's brand name idea of obviously Fill My Pie, which is obviously a bit wrong, and she explained that she didn't realise that was rude. And then Lord Sugar said to Paul that obviously he, as a dentist, he was in charge of the fillings, ironically, and he said that obviously they would look quite nice in the shops, but it would almost cost more for the postage than the actual pies themselves. And he actually said he tried the pies and said the pies are excellent, and he basically just said to Phil, just make sure you keep the quality up. They then moved quickly on to Rachel, and she obviously had Trey and Steve on the billboard team, and she also chose Sam as well, purely because she's in the fitness world, and obviously Trey's a music producer, so he is creative, so that's why he chose them, that's why she chose them as her sub-team. And Lord Sugar said that Sam kind of looks a bit like 1980s Mr. Motivator, which is obviously what Flo said earlier as well, and Sam says she actually is the mummy motivator in her business, so that fits quite well. Trey said that in terms of the video, he wanted to have kind of like a towel throwing at the end to kind of, you know, throw the towel down and be able to start again, which Lord Sugar basically said, well, hang on, when you throw the towel in, or when you hear that phrase, almost means like giving up. And he said, no, he meant it more in like you throw the towel down, you end your workout, but then you go running back. And he also said that 70% of women are her target audience, so how can you kind of bring more men in? And she said just from her personal experience, that's just kind of the clients who come in her way, but she does welcome males. And then Lord Sugar joked saying, well, you're not going to want any of Trey's testosterone juice, because obviously that's maybe going to turn people away. She also was told that the word studio build kind of sounds like a construction company, and she said that it's something that she stands by, it's something that she thinks is quite bold, and where she obviously showed her metaverse, that's where she was able to sell herself in terms of, this is the gym, the brand name might not exactly match, but this is exactly what I'm promoting. Trey said that Rachel's a great leader because obviously she doesn't blow her own trumpet, and she just works really, really hard. And Rachel said that she felt greatly supported by her team. Karen also said that there was no pies left on their table, so again, Phil's pies went down a treat there as well. And Lord Sugar said that it makes a change for an Arsenal fan to see a trophy, because usually they obviously lose. Again, that was more of a football joke. But yeah, Lord Sugar basically was just like, well done, Phil, you've actually won in something in life, you've made great pies. And then the ex-candidates all left, so it was literally just Karen, Tim, Lord Sugar, Phil and Rachel in the room. And Lord Sugar basically said it's pies versus pie lattes, gyms versus pies to make people fitter or fatter. And Rachel basically explained that her vision and dream was to have a community, and he questioned whether she'd be able to scale up. She said she started organically with 0 clients and a 0 client base. She built this up over time organically. She's got the same ethos in all of her gyms, she's got core values, and Lord Sugar asked how she was going to train those members of staff up. She said that she would hire more people at the same level that are already hired, and Lord Sugar questioned whether his children and grandchildren would use these gyms all the time, and actually, for example, the fact that he knows that some of these young people are kind of linked to a fitness instructor or a gym person, and then when that person leaves, that young person then leaves as well and then follows that person to the other gym. So how is she going to make sure that people don't leave? And she basically just said people are not going to leave. And Karen basically jumped in saying, look, when you scale up, staff are going to want to move on. They're going to want to move on to somewhere else where maybe they can start up again with a smaller clientele or, whatever. But when you scale up, they will move on. And then Lord Sugar also said about Phil, he's already got 5 shops. He needs to have 50 shops. The pies by post situation, he doesn't understand how Phil's going to manage to get that online. And Phil also jumped in saying everyone told him that his shop business was going to die straight away. He does believe in his vision. He knows that the online business wouldn't be 100% the actual business, but it could just kind of be a hedge off of what he's already doing. And Lord Sugar said that he needs to just concentrate on what's going to actually make him money. And from experience, he's basically said that with managing directors and things like that, they've tried to do this before and it hasn't worked out by going fully online. And then Phil basically said, look, I completely understand what you said. I understand what you're saying. Business is more than just about making profit. And Lord Sugar jumped in here straight away saying, he basically said, well, hang on, that's exactly what business is all about. It is just about making profit. So if you're thinking about scaling up a business and, oh, it doesn't matter if we make profit or not, I don't want to go into business with you kind of thing, is exactly what he said. He said, yeah, being in a business is not just about profit, it's about being commercially driven. And Phil should have acted quicker to obviously the inflation situation and just put his prices up straight away. And then Lord Sugar asked to speak to both Karen and Tim and sent both Phil and Rachel outside. So from those pictures, I mean, for me, there was a clear winner from day one. And yeah, we're going to obviously find that out shortly as well. Hopefully, maybe, who knows. So Karen said about Rachel, she obviously has a passion for her gym life. She's got experience and she'll be able to open these other gyms. And Tim said she's a great advocate. She'll be able to scale up her business over many, many more. Tim said for Phil that he has a clear indication of what he needs to do. He's been given that advice. And then Karen jumped in saying he's got a good business and good product. He needs to embrace new ways of doing things, and you need to make sure that if he was to work with you in business, that he takes advice and actually makes tough decisions to kind of change his business to kind of fit what actually is needed. And Lord Sugar said there's a £250,000 investment here. He wants to make money, which I guess kind of sealed the deal there. He basically said to Phil straight away, he didn't kind of make it clear why he wanted to win the money. And Phil basically said, look, he needs to be able to make more shops, put his prices up, and develop some of his products as well. And Lord Sugar asked him, would you listen? And the most important thing is for me to actually tell you things what not to do, and then you just kind of do everything else. And he basically said, what I've experienced in my life is not something you're ever going to experience. I've learned from the mistakes in my 60 years, some things which I can't explain, I can't put in a book, but I've done everything where things have gone wrong, and you basically need to listen to me. And then Phil basically replied and said he needs a mentor to give him advice. He will obviously put his points across for things that he believes in, but also if there are things that he doesn't understand, he will also say that truly and openly as well. And then for Rachel and her situation, she basically said that in terms of the up north, there's a lot of demand and not enough supply for the gyms. She's hoping to obviously provide that supply. And then Lord Sugar said she obviously has quite a small boutique or gym. How is she going to make sure she has more than one? She said her business is scalable. She'll have a multi-million-pound company over the next couple of years. And with a £250,000 investment on a tiny little suite, having made £250,000 on a tiny little suite in Leeds, she was only 23 years old at the time. She's now 27 or 26, whatever she said. And she can definitely make that money back. Phil said for him, there's more time to launch the business. I think he basically said that Rachel is still building her business. He's already built the business, but he's already got the model set out. And Rachel said that for her, he wouldn't just be investing in the business, he would also be investing in herself. And she basically said, having watched the show from when she was 17 years old, she basically said she was going to be in the final of The Apprentice with a business plan. Whether she still didn't have a business at that time, who knows. So yeah, 5 years before she actually went on to do what she did, she actually realised, no, I want to be on the show. So again, she may be a fan of the show, but she's also done very well to beat 16 other candidates just performing in tasks and working with people and getting things done to be in the final with Lord Sugar, which is exactly where she said she wanted to be. And Lord Sugar basically explained that he was sitting in front of two credible people, with Rachel saying that she claims she's made money, but Jim's, I guess, are kind of like a risk. And obviously with the specialist pies, he said he is interested in pies, but questions whether there's any light in the tunnel. At the moment it is a loss-making business that Phil basically says is going to be okay, and Lord Sugar basically said he's going to be having trouble with whichever decision he decides to go for. And then he looked at Rachel, said, "Rachel, you're going to be my business partner," with Lord Sugar saying to him, "Don't let me down," and she said, "No, I won't let you down." Rachel said it was incredible to take part in the process, and she's definitely going to improve her business, especially by having Lord Sugar on her side. So in the end, after 12 long weeks, it was Rachel who became Lord Sugar's 13th business partner, I believe. I think it's the 13th season. Phil came runner-up, Paul came third, and then obviously you had Flo fourth, and Steve didn't come fifth. Trey came fifth, and Steve and Felusa came fifth, sixth and seventh, and then the rest of them came wherever they came. But yeah, I think it was an amazing series. I mean, I'll be honest, I saw Rachel as one of the strong ones from the very, very beginning. From very task one, I just saw her as one of the strong females from the beginning. So I think my top 5, I would say, yeah, Flo was definitely in my top 5. Steve was definitely in my top 5. Rachel was in my top 5. Paul was in my top 5. And I guess, yeah, even though he did lose a lot of the tasks, Phil was actually in my top 5 from kind of the beginning. I did also have an idea that maybe Maura and Sam were going to do quite well. I think for Sam, she kind of just, I think she maybe took on the wrong task. And then for Maura, her kind of, you know, shouting situation at the screen didn't exactly land her a good position in Lord Sugar's eyes there. But yeah, I guess they were kind of the ones that I saw quite strong. I did enjoy watching Felusa. I think she was quite strong. Onyeka kind of held herself back a bit. So did Noor, so did Amina, so did Paul B. Oliver we didn't actually get to see much of, apart from in the first task where he wasn't really listening, and then the rest of them were kind of just there doing their own thing. But I think it was a good group of people, and I think this is the thing, there are thousands or millions of people that apply for this show and only 18 get picked. So if you're seeing 18 young people, whether they're at the beginning of their career or whether they're like Rachel now and they have an investment from Lord Sugar, it's just amazing to see people just kind of getting on with their life and getting on with their whatever they're interested in. So yeah, it was an amazing series to watch. But like I said, amazing congratulations to those that got in the top 5. Amazing runner-up Phil. Like I said, it could have physically gone to anyone, but I think my analysis of the show along the way was Phil was losing every single task and Rachel was winning every single task. So it kind of would have been a little bit unfair for Phil to win, purely because what did he actually do to get to the final other than just kind of float in every team? But he did ask a lot of questions, he did analyse a lot of things, so it's not like he was just a missing piece to every team. It was just a lot of, he wasn't taking the lead. Yes, he won when he was project manager, but that was only because he lost the other 6 or 7 tasks, whereas Rachel pretty much was winning every single task, and then the tasks that she didn't win, she was either a very strong project manager, or she was not a project manager but like a sub-team leader, or she was just there present at least doing something. So either way, I think she from the beginning was one of my strong ones. I was like, she's either going to be an underdog or she's just going to be very, very good, and very, very good she was, and that's why she's taken that investment. So if you did enjoy my review, finally my final review of the show, then like, comment, share and subscribe. As you can obviously tell, I have made a lot of notes over the last couple of weeks as to, you know, what's happened in The Apprentice and who's been fired and sacked and whatever. So it's always very, very fun to do. But yeah, if you are interested in any more reviews or anything, they will be coming soon for hopefully a few other shows that are coming out soon. But yeah, until my next review, music review, vlog, video, main channel video, whatever I create, don't forget to like, comment, chat and subscribe. And yeah, until then, thank you for watching and goodbye.